Yep. Welcome, everyone, to tonight's village board meeting. I ask that you please stand, if able, to have the Pledge of Allegiance followed by a moment of silence. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone. Please be seated. Jenna, could we have roll call, please?
We'll start down here. Trustee Grabowski. Here. Trustee Kreiser. Here. Trustee Pater. Here. Trustee Belt. Here. Trustee Rhodey. Here. President Knudsen.
Here.
And Trustee South is excused.
Okay, item 2 is public hearings. We have none. Item 3, approval of the previous board meeting, April 8th, 2026. I hope everyone's had a chance to go through them. Are there any questions, comments, or corrections as they were presented this evening? If not, I'll look for a motion to approve as presented.
Motion to approve the minutes from April 8th, 2026 as presented.
Second, Rhodey.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Minutes are hereby adopted. Citizen comments. This is an opportunity for citizens to share their opinions with board members on any topic they choose. However, due to Wisconsin open meeting laws, the board is not able to answer questions or respond to your comments. All comments should be directed to the board. Comments are limited to 3 minutes per speaker, which time being indicated by an audible alarm. When the alarm sounds, speakers are asked to conclude their comments. Speakers are asked to please use the podium and state their name and address for the record. Is there anyone here that would like to make a comment at this time? Okay, well then we're going to move right on. Item 5 is ordinances, none. Item 6 is resolution, none. And item 7, old business, we have none. Go right into the new business, item 8. A, review, discussion, and possible action to approve proposed contractor pollution control insurance for the Kottmeyer lift station project. I hope everyone's had a chance to preview it, look it over. Are there any questions or comments as the way that it is presented this evening? If not, would somebody like to make a motion then?
Do we have to approve this pending later discussion, or is this just approving this agenda item and it will be contingent upon later discussion?
So the way the administrator has presented it to you is that he's looking for pre-authorization. So if you approve the agenda item as presented, he's represented to you that he will not purchase the insurance until an agreement regarding the lift station.
Okay, I just didn't know if we had to state it or not, so.
No,
okay.
I think approving it as presented will.
Motion to approve as presented.
Second, Rhodey.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion is hereby carried. Review, discussion, and possible action to direct staff to prepare a draft ordinance regarding a designated outdoor open intoxicant area. This is going to be a lot to discuss. Maybe, Matt, would you like to start us out?
Yes,
Then
please,
we'll go to the
President
other
Knudsen. Right. So thank you, President Knudsen. This is not the very first time that the board has considered this topic, but it is the first time the board's considered it recently. So it was examined a while ago, and as the village attorney letter states, it was unclear at that time whether such a district was even possible, given state statutes. And that question has been answered by how it's been implemented in other communities. So tonight is somewhat of a new starting point. And because it's a starting point, I would recommend the board try to keep the discussion at a fairly high level. While we need some amount of detail tonight to give staff good direction on what comes next, I wouldn't want the board to get paralyzed by detail tonight, because we're just not far enough into this topic yet to warrant that. And if the board wishes to continue developing this topic, there will be time in the future to discuss specifics. The material before you tonight is presented in a neutral fashion, so it neither recommends this district nor does it resist it. But it kind of presents you with what your options are. And it is before you tonight in particular, in order to give staff enough time to develop something, if the board wished to explore something this summer, before the summer events. It's also a good idea to bring this conversation kind of into the formal realm or into the open. As the memo states, I've heard sporadically from different sources and different stakeholders during my time here about this topic. And it's good to bring these background conversations and in transparency into the forefront, so everybody has a clear understanding of what's going on. The village attorney's letter breaks down the existing examples into two different models. One is a model like the city of Oshkosh, which specifies a season where this is allowed and some days and times. And the other is a model like the city of Waukesha, when consuming in the public right-of-way is tied to special events. And it's really what I wanted to do to introduce the topic tonight. Attorney Grulinski, I don't know if you had any additional comments for the board.
Just briefly, I think you really introduced it well. I guess the emphasis I would reemphasize is that staff is really neutral as to whether or not this is something the village should do. I think my office's position 5 years ago was probably more in the negative with that regard, only because the village would be blazing the trail on something like this 5 years ago, where now we're really not. We have some examples to go off of and build on if the village wants to pursue this. So I think from my perspective, we've moved to more of a neutral position, as Matt said. I want to frame the discussion for the board, and that's why I put these high-level things to think about in giving direction to staff if this is something to pursue. Is that if this is going to occur, I think you just have to give careful thought to some of the things that we put in the memo here. The geographic location, the seasonal location, is it going to be tied to a special event? We have a lot of special events at the lakefront, and making sure that if there is, an authorized area, that it's not interfering with, but actually complementing the special events we have down there. So all topics to get into, but like Matt said, this is more of the high-level conceptual discussion, so staff can take comments today if the board wants to proceed and put together an ordinance for further discussion. So with that, I'll turn it over to the board.
Any questions or comments?
I guess I'll make a general comment first of all. I think recently when we were talking about some possible strategic changes to the lakefront park and partnering with business community down there to do some design work, I talked about creating the third space for people. And the third space is when people are making decisions, obviously work and home are their first and second space, but what is their third space? And we want Pewaukee Village, and specifically the lakefront, especially during the summer, to be the third space for people. If we can help enable that by allowing more freedom of movement when it comes to the use of alcohol, but with restrictions, whether those restrictions are during special events or during certain periods of time, if we can do that, I think it's very beneficial to the village, very beneficial to the businesses in the village. One of the problems they're faced with is they have a short period of time to build dollar volume and profit during the warm season. And then they end up starving in a lot of respects during the winter. So they've got to maximize everything they can do during that summer period of time. And I think, again, looking at the opportunity to not only, first of all, benefit our citizens and people who would come to Pewaukee by creating a third space, but also doing something that's going to benefit our businesses with restrictions, I think is beneficial. And I think we do have to take care of organizations like the Kiwanis. There's no doubt in my mind in regard to that. But we can do that by basing it off of periods of times or events. But I think it's a good idea to look at this. Keep in mind, we're competing with Heartland, we're competing with Delafield, we're competing with Economwalk, we're competing to municipalities to the east of us also. We have a wonderful lakefront. We got to take advantage of it.
Anyone else like to make a comment?
I have a question.
Yes.
I have abundance of them, actually. I read through everything, and how would this work? Can a family come down and bring a picnic and in the area, open a bottle of wine and enjoy the bottle of wine? Is that like one area, and then like, say I'm an artisan having dinner and I have a glass of wine and I'm not done with it, can I ask for a to-go cup and then walk down the street? Like, how is this gonna look?
So the intent is, so two parts of that. The zones, other communities, what they've done is they authorize the consumption within these zones of beverages purchased from establishments within those zones. They generally prohibit carry and out. And so you can't bring in, your own bottle of wine from your home. You would have to be purchasing from an establishment within the zone. So that answers the first part. Second part,
Sure, like if I'm at your dinner and you didn't finish your wine, can you get a to-go cup because you're gonna walk down on the lake and then finish your wine while you're walking down?
yes, because you're getting it from that establishment.
Okay.
And Matt, just to clarify, that's not, the first part could be an option, it's just not what's normally done, is that correct? First part being, you can't bring your own, there's not
Correct.
alcohol.
Correct. It's
Yeah.
not prohibited, but most of the communities I've seen have limited it to, in fact, I think all of them, to establishments within the zone rather than carry.
And when you say zone, like, does that mean, like, up to the sidewalk where the fences are in front of the restaurants, like, would that be an example of a zone?
So what we have authority over is village sidewalks, public right-of-way, and the village parks. So those are the areas where currently our code prohibits off-premises consumption of alcohol. What you're talking about is creating a zone where those prohibitions on off-premise consumption are lifted. So it would only be, it could be in all of those areas, it could be in one or fewer, but it's the streets, the sidewalks, and the parks.
Thank you.
And can you restrict the certain area, like if we just wanted the sidewalk area kind of in the downtown area?
Yes.
You can restrict it as to location.
I would recommend
also.
restricting it as greatly as possible.
So I'm with Bob. I would like to see this be an option in the downtown area. What that actual definition of downtown would be, what that area would be, obviously would be, we'd have to determine what that is, but I think it's great. Even during the events that are going on right now, people are already going into those establishments and taking drinks out. So I don't know if the motive of the Kiwanis here with their letter is that they don't want people going into those establishments to buy drinks because they want them to buy them from them. So I don't, even if this were to come, or if the Kiwanis is just worrying about us restricting them more, that they wouldn't be able to sell. I don't quite understand what point they're trying to get across in their letter. But I don't think that our events, the nonprofits that put events on down there, would see any significant difference in revenue that they are generating by patrons being allowed to take alcohol out of the establishments. Patrons already go in there, take them. I mean, we'd all be lying if we said we didn't know that people were taking stuff already out of the premises. So I don't think there's going to be a great big financial harm to any event that is down there. So I'm all for it. As far as looking into the options and drafting some sort of ordinance within that, for sure within the downtown area.
So just one comment on the Kiwanis, because they had the letter here, and it brings up a point, I guess. So when we're putting together this zone, you have to be mindful of when there are special events on the lakefront. the Kiwanis Beach Party is a good example. The Kiwanis has a temporary liquor license where they, you know, they have their beer tent, right? For that, for the beach party, they have a licensed premise. They have their own zone. If you set up a zone of your own in the village here where you can have off-premise consumption and authorize, it essentially has to go around, for lack of a better term.
So you couldn't take it into their tent?
Correct.
essentially.
So somebody can't buy a drink, let's say it's during the beach party, somebody can't go to Seaster's, get a drink, come out, and then go into the, whatever the described premise of the Kiwanis is. Because state law prohibits you from carrying in alcohol into a licensed establishment that is not purchased at that establishment.
Okay. Makes sense.
So that might be one of their concerns there, if whatever their premises describe, and I think, Matt, what is their, do you recall what the premise description for Kiwanis is at the beach party?
I don't recall, Jen is looking for it right now.
I mean,
I recall it being as broad as.
they have the defined barriers, so they define their special event zone, if my memory serves me correctly, from basically where they set up the barriers, just past the Blue Roof condos down to the end, right at Artisan, basically, because the bathrooms are behind that, so that's their special event zone.
Sure, so if that area is the same as what's on their Class B, the temporary Class B, that would be their premises. Somebody can't bring in outside alcohol into that premises.
And that goes for other businesses too, right?
Correct, yeah.
Okay,
I'm just using the Kiwanis as an
Okay.
example. That goes from Seaster's to Mixon, you can't do that
okay,
either.
okay, thank you.
Correct.
So that seems like that would be difficult to enforce during the chaos of the beach party.
Correct.
Full transparency there.
Mhm.
I do not have overwhelming concerns about going down this path. I think especially in situations like the beach party, but even just in regular events like with the ski show and stuff, you know, people are constantly saying, can I come grab a glass of wine from Artisan? And there was even people last year at the beach party, like furious at Mozart's businesses that they wouldn't allow them to take things out because they're like, there's someone standing outside the door literally with a cocktail. Like it's confusing. And I do want them to be able to sell and have people to enjoy and come in and out and utilize that space. So I'm in support with to continue down this path. Makes me want to look at further ways to control the traffic down there, but we're not there yet.
So I guess I'm going to look at this from both sides, and I'll play advocate and devil's advocate in this situation. Being an advocate in the past, in 2022, when it came in front of us, the downtown was also in a different, I think, position in 22 coming out of COVID. That was when we were really trying to liven things up, because we did have, I think, 3 vacant storefronts at that point. We were trying to do the on-street dining. We were trying to kind of light a fire down there. When I look at ordinances or proposed possible ordinances, I try to look at them about what is the problem that is being solved with it. And now the advocate side of me says, yes, agree with Trustee Rohde about these businesses need to capitalize on these few months that they have to be able to sustain during the winter and such. So that's the part of me that agrees with this. However, the devil's advocate side is I'm not seeing, me personally, I'm not seeing the problem that needs a solution, that this is a solution to. While I agree we are competing with Delafield and Heartland and all those, I believe it would be hard pressed to find someone to say, where should we go to dinner tonight? Should we go to Delafield or should we go to Pewaukee where we can walk on the street with a beer? Like, I don't know if that's the tipping point. Maybe it is for some people, I don't know. Very much so, we can't, we can't ignore that there is a state law that you can't enter a licensed premise already. So in doing my research on this today in the state of Wisconsin, that was a large concern with other communities that brought it up. You stated 2 that approved it. There are several that have denied it. Fort reversed theirs a few years ago, stating from the police department, their concern, not ours, I'm just saying, we do have the police in the audience here, but Fort's police department stated the inability to effectively control the nuisance and everything else that would come along with this, or enforce and control the zone that is defined. DPW and Fort rejected it due to the increased litter and debris that was brought about it. And we also have to be cognizant of the fact that we have a beachfront that attracts a very underage crowd, that now if we're going to be saying that that's under the same jurisdiction and same zoning where you could have open containers, we're opening, not as a liability standpoint, but just as a community standpoint, that we're opening up the ability for possible consumption or contributing to delinquency of minors or so, and that goes back to the enforcement side of the police, where we have enough coverage down there to keep an eye on that. On the other side of it, bringing up carry-ins from people that are just coming out to enjoy a day in Pewaukee, that is not benefiting the businesses any. And in fact, I saw it firsthand, not so much when I owned the beer garden that operated on the lakefront, but the second owner, his sales dropped dramatically due to the amount of carry-in coolers at the water ski show. And it was, if somebody didn't like the selection that he had, they brought their own. So under this proposed ordinance, that would be allowed. However, I shouldn't say that, because he would be the liquor holder for the lakefront park during that ski event. So just as Brewfinity holds it during these ski events, or Waterfront Wednesdays has them, now it falls on them to have to enforce that. So I don't know if encouraging people to come with their own containers helps our businesses any. I feel like it hurts our businesses. I do believe that freedom of movement throughout the downtown would be a nice idea for if you are at an establishment and want to take yours with you, or have one, grab one before you leave for the way out to stroll up and down. Absolutely. I personally don't think we should have any part of the zone include the parks and the beach. One, because I feel like that should also have input from Park and Rec. But 2, I just feel like that very much opens us up to a whole segment of law enforcement that we don't need to put on our officers. This is tough, because like I said, in the defining of the zone is also going to be crucial, because it becomes, where do we end? So if we say the downtown B2 district, great, but you have to make sure to include, if we do just the downtown, it's like, oh, well, then Billy's is going to want to be included. Okay, we go up to Billy's. Well, now Four Keeps wants to be included. All right, we go down to Four Keeps. Okay, well, now, you have to go up to the Schnitzel Bunker and such. Okay, well, B2 district. Okay, well, now, there's always going to be like a little bit of a creep to it. Well, do you include Village Park? So if there's an event going on at Village Park in a beer garden, they could take that beer and walk with it. So again, following the administrator's description of a high-level overview, there's a lot of stakeholders that are going to have input on this. And I could tell you not every business down there is 100% in favor of this. I've talked to multiple ones down there. So we have to look at it as a holistic of what's good for the community, what's good for the businesses, what's good for public safety and well-being, what's good for our infrastructure and resources, and not too taxing. So like I said, I'm an advocate, but I'm also going to play devil's advocate here, because we can't just do a blanket, yeah, it's a great idea, because there are a lot of intricacies with this that need to be noted to do it properly and to protect our businesses and to protect our community members. So that's my opinion, but nothing's going to get solved here tonight in the discussion, and we're not going to get into details. Those are just some things to think about.
Anybody have any other comments?
And if the board would be so inclined, we do have representatives from DPW and the police here. I would be very intrigued to hear Chief's thoughts on this,
Chief, would you like to
if the board is
give
so.
us some thoughts on it as far as you're concerned, as policing goes?
Sure, a couple things. Don't think that it would not impact Kiwanis, because one of the businesses down there did advertise a couple years ago, cheaper beer here than you can buy there. So, I mean, their advertising campaign was buy from us and don't pay the $7. So that was a valid thing. We don't want to be the cooler police also. You know, we don't want to go out there and look at any carry-ins and put more manpower. Usually we go off of complaints. And the other thing is, we don't want to bring such negativity sometimes for patrolling and looking at and yelling at people for bringing stuff in. We patrol, we're very positive with the community, and what we don't want is people, you know, flipping on us and saying, hey, there's the police that check coolers and open it up before you come in, and things like that. We butted heads with some of the tavern owners last year at the beach party, because we did catch people bringing stuff in from their establishment. They didn't feel that it's their responsibility to police their own establishment and allow people to buy a beer, again, cheaper, open it up and drink it inside and just mingle about because they sold a different brand. So we got into some heated discussions with some of the owners of the establishment. We didn't want to be put in that position. We educated some of the owners ahead of time, so they knew the expectations and what their job is to go by what the state rules say about open intoxicants. And it didn't go well going back and forth with some of these establishments. So I really feel that they will undercut Kiwanis, because we've seen it before. But again, the whole thing is we're kind of neutral on it. What would you like? We haven't had any problems with intoxicated people generally in the parks. We don't, like at Waterfront Wednesdays, unless we are flagged down specifically for someone, we wouldn't be just patrolling and looking for coolers. So.
Any questions of the chief?
I don't, but I have some more comments on it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and I understand the amount of time that's being spent specifically on the Kiwanis. Keep in mind, we don't want to include the Kiwanis weekend as part of any new policy we do. We don't have to, okay? All right, so and the thing is that there are other events that take place in the village. You know, and I'll give you an example. Last year, I'm sitting with my family in an area that was not directly tied with any bar or any restaurant that sold drinks. And that's where we were sitting for the fireworks. Bob, the trustee, didn't feel comfortable getting a drink and breaking the rules by carrying it over there. And so I didn't drink all night, okay? I don't think that's right. I think we should have the ability, if I wanted to go to Seaster's or if I wanted to go to Mixum's, wherever it is, to get something to drink. All right. Same with my family and my in-laws and everybody else. Right now, under the current rules, if we are enforcing them black and white, you can't do that.
I'm sorry, I wasn't laughing at you. I was just laughing at the statement of, I didn't have a drink all night, and that's not right. That is unacceptable.
It was the driest 4th of July
I had a
I've
.00
ever had.
on 4th of July. Can you believe that? So that's why I was
But
laughing.
that's a perfect
yeah.
example of a perfect night. There's no specific event down there. There's no other outside vendor where our businesses could thrive
Oh, yeah.
on that night.
So this year, on the 3rd and 4th of July, we've got a lot of stuff going on downtown that we're going to be talking about, in the coming meetings. I would love to have our businesses take advantage of that to maximize the volume and profit and provide an experience to people that we want them to have there during that.
And so, going off of what Attorney Grulinski wrote, that's within our right to define days, periods, zones, whatever. So that's, yeah, so I agree, there are definitely times, like, that's what I said, I'm an advocate and a devil's advocate in this, just giving things to think about here.
I'm done.
Well, I have concerns about making it with a lot of changes. I think if we're going to educate the public that being consistent is very fair, and I think if people start to be aware of this, and then all of a sudden, but it's not available on the one day that we're planning to go downtown and drink, like at the beach party, you know, and now I can't walk into a restaurant, I think that could cause a lot of confusion. We're very close to the ordinances. I don't know that every single constituent is, so I would like to see it be more clear. And then my 2 cents is I very much disagree that it should not include the park and the beach. Totally hear you on the underage folks that we have down there, and I do understand that, and the garbage is a concern.
Yeah, I'm more worried about the trash.
But I have 2 young kids, like, you know, if we're gonna get a drink and they're down there with us, we're not just strolling the sidewalks, like, we're gonna go walk the sand while they play, or go sit in the grass and like watch the water ski show. I don't know even what's the point if we're just saying you can walk on the sidewalks with it. I think our destination is the beach and the park and mingling at an event, you know, fireworks, things like that. So I would just like to throw out there that I would definitely want to see that included. And I know we're not getting into the nitty-gritty. I would even be open to considering like the whole triangle and seeing what that does mean to bring in some of those other establishments that sometimes do get maybe a little of the crumbs from the downtown experience, and then, you know, Kiwanis Village Park as well. So we'd be open to looking at, you know, several situations of what the zoning could look like.
I'll throw something out as well as a alternative that was not listed in Attorney Grulinski's letter. I believe Delafield follows this one. I know of one of my former home cities definitely does. So if you've ever been to Key West, everyone assumes that open container is completely legal there. There's only about 5 or 6 cities in America where open carry is, or open container is legal, like Vegas and New Orleans and I think Charleston and maybe Mobile, Alabama, or something in their downtown district. Outside of that, Key West is even illegal. 100% illegal to be walking down the street, Duval Street, with a beer in your hand. However, that is only enforced when needed as probable cause for anything else. So if you're acting out of line and you're standing there holding a beer, you only get to run your mouth so long before they go, oh, it's illegal to be on the street with that beer, and you get nailed for that. It's a fallback in the toolbox for the police department to use for enforcement of all other laws. They are basically instructed, though, to not turn a blind eye, but to not necessarily enforce on a regular basis. I think Delafield, if I'm not mistaken, also follows that. Delafield is not legal, and Attorney Grulinski, correct me if I'm wrong in this one. Yeah, I know you might have to go back and check on it, but
I don't know.
I believe they presented something like this and did not pass the ordinance.
I thought it was during like their events.
Yeah, like during ladies' night, you
Walk,
can drink.
walk shop for sure, but I think on regular non-whatever special events, I don't believe it's,
But they do a ton
Typically-
of events down there. So
And they're
there's,
like a shopping, like,
yeah.
it's just a whole different
but,
atmosphere.
no, what I'm saying is, they also follow it's illegal, but not necessarily enforced. So, I'm also not opposed to going down that road if we want to take a different approach on it, like I said, because then it still allows for structure, as in all the ordinances and laws that are in place right now, however, gives the freedom of movement. But it keeps people in check, because then if the police need to use it as an enforcement tool, it's there. Like I said, Key West is the textbook example for that. I mean, everyone assumes that it's legal there. they have to-go cups at the door of every bar so that you don't leave with glass. It's kind of a gentleman's agreement, but it is 100% illegal to carry down there.
One other thing I'd want to note, just in, I guess, in advocacy, is we have the transient boat piers. So I think it's a great selling point for some of the businesses down there to have people pull up and be able to take like a boat drink too, which technically we cannot do. at
No,
this point.
you can.
You can walk us through that?
Oh, well, if somebody has a package license, could sell, like the wine bar used to sell, carry out.
I
to
mean, like
home.
going to Sisters or Artisan or something, I can't like.
Like getting a margarita, walking your boat.
See, my biggest concern though is well, I shouldn't say that. Safety is the biggest concern. My 1B is that however it's structured has to benefit the businesses down there. It can't just be free for all, like pull your boat up with a cooler on it, spend the day down there and keep going back to your boat for beers while you're on the beach type thing.
Well, that wasn't my example.
I'm not saying that's your example, but I'm saying that doesn't benefit the downtown businesses. Or Bob's example does. He's sitting there, wants a drink, can run to Brewfinity, grab a beer, come back. Absolutely. That's what I want. I don't want to see people, arm full of floaties and a wagon cooler full of beers just to go sit up on the, with sandwiches and beers and, sit in the sand.
Zero carry-ins.
What's that?
It's like basically zero carry-ins.
I don't
I
like,
agree with
I don't like carry-ins because I don't think that benefits the downtown businesses at all, and everything we should be doing as a board should be with our citizens and businesses in mind to better the environment and better their opportunities. And I don't think encouraging carry-in in any way will benefit those downtown businesses. And I know you can't carry one of your own even into, or you can't carry any alcohol into an establishment, but I just mean in general for patronizing it, those sales should be driven to our downtown establishments.
Any other comments at this time? I'd just like to say, I really appreciate all the comments. Everybody's had some really good ideas, and Jim's come up with a couple I never even thought of as far as DPW, the mess that's gonna be down there with the gold cups, empty beer cans, whatever. Right now, it is illegal for the parks to have alcohol in them. If I remember correctly, correct?
It's an unenforced rule.
Right, it's an unenforced rule. The other thing is when you do have your ski club down there, there's the beer, I'm gonna say tent, but it's a beer truck. And,
Now they'll be selling out of the window, but yeah.
right, he has that length, that's his area.
Right.
Sort of like the beach party, when it's in the tent, that's their area. So people should not be bringing things in that area. So people, if they're buying it from Sisters or wherever, walking down in there, that should be to the Sisters saying, no, you cannot go down there. You're gonna take a drink out of here, you cannot go down there, because that's not legal. I think the same thing goes for the Wednesday night music. The people that are selling alcohol now own that whole area to sell alcohol. I would like to say that when we do have those events, that a sign is put, and I know people don't like signs, like Bob, and at the beginning, at one end, and at the other end, absolutely no coolers, period. You walk in with a cooler, you're gonna be asked to leave the cooler back somewhere else. Because like the ski club, like Kiwanis, like the music, that's where they're making their money, to have those events. If they're not making that money, they can't have those events. So then, does it fall upon the village board to fund those? No, we don't want that. So something has to be done to regulate that. The other option would be to, again, as far as the Kiwanis goes, I'm not in favor of allowing any type of alcohol from any other business down the lakefront to sell alcohol, to be able to go into the tent and listen to music. I think that should be, they spend a lot of money to put that on. They have a lot of money that they invest back into the community to help everybody, schools and as the letter says. And I just think it wouldn't be right, as the chief brought up, that one guy's selling beer cheaper just so he can do it. That's not fair. And I like the idea of being able to have people go down there, and especially on the 4th of July, and now it'll be on the 3rd of July, be able to sit anywhere on the road or down on the sidewalks, not on the beach, not in the park. Well, maybe in the park, that'll be up to if you want to or not.
And maybe on the sidewalk too, outside the.
Right. But I think it makes sense on those days where maybe we are doing something, the board is doing something, or Pewaukee is holding an event for the community to allow that being done down there. Because I agree with Bob. I mean, you're sitting there and you can't even have a drink. What the heck? You know, that's the whole thing. Right, and I can guarantee you that I'm sure there is nobody breaking the law and doing that, but anyway, I just think it would be good for that, to have that during those times, you know, to have that so you can sell and that. As far as putting something, I was thinking maybe having everybody have to put a label or stamp or something on the cans or cups, but then I thought, well, what's that gonna do? They just take the cup home, bring back, fill it, and do whatever they want. So, you know, it's everybody's can kind of have a flask if they want. I think it's a good idea, but we've got to figure out the pros and cons, like Jim was saying.
I think I'm going to summarize it here to take back to staff, because this was supposed to be for direction. I feel, correct me if I'm wrong, but everyone on the board has a general positive outlook towards this. And as we said, this is a high overview, you know, and what we decide is obviously, you know, kind of a representative of our constituents. But it definitely, in my opinion, has to have buy-in from the business stakeholders down there too. Because if I'm summarizing this correctly, there's enough momentum here, and that's a dangerous word, there's enough positivity here to at least continue exploring it, to take it to the next stakeholders, to take the temperature of the downtown businesses. Because if we're not going to have buy-in from the businesses, if they're like, yeah, we're not going to enforce that, or we're not going, or we don't want this because we're going to see a lot of carry-ins, or we don't have staff to, you know, to tell people to not carry it, whatever, you know, whatever might come of it. If they don't have buy-in, then they're the ones that's affecting both positively and negatively. So is that a fair summation, at least, that we should at least continue discussing this?
Yeah, just one other thing I wanted to ask, or mention.
I mean, I'm not ending it, I'm just
Yeah.
trying to summarize.
Yeah, keep in mind, whatever we do, if we put something into effect this year, let's say for the 3rd and 4th, or what, you know, an event during August, we'll learn from those things. If we're using small, in, you know, a small amount of time, or just special events, that will help inform us to either continuing and expanding it the fall next year, or pulling back completely. But we can almost treat this summer as a learning experience also for some of the special events.
I love that. Yeah, I mean, that's what it should, that's what we've done with that's what we did with the on-street dining, that's what we do with a lot of the other things,
Yeah.
is dip your toe into it and see and adjust.
Or I guess like summer in entirety as well.
Whatever
right?
we decide,
Versus
yeah.
Yeah, whatever we decide.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We're not setting it for 50 years
Yeah.
this year,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah. No,
regardless of
absolutely.
whatever we decide. So, but there's enough appetite from the board to at least continue the discussion with the next stakeholders being the downtown businesses, right?
Yeah, and I have talked to several of them as well, and everyone I've talked to has also been very in favor of it. So I think that is, like, yeah, let's get the feedback.
Staff?
Yeah, so what's the direction then to staff? Is it to the administrator and the trustees to have that conversation with the stakeholders first? Or are we looking for staff to,
To draft an ordinance
I
and
mean,
then
it seems,
present that?
it, kind of chicken before the egg. It still seems kind of premature based on the discussion here.
Because in order to draft the ordinance, we'd have to figure out, is it a zone, is it an event
Correct.
thing, is it
There-
a,
In my mind, there's too many variables for me to put together
No.
an ordinance because
be like a Mad Lib though, where we
it
just
could,
kind of.
it could be a fill in the blank. But if I put something together, I know there's gonna be one or more people on the board that don't like some part of it, right? So I guess my opinion, and you can tell me I'm wrong, but maybe to have that discussion with the stakeholders first to get their thoughts before we actually have an ordinance in ordinance form. But I'm willing to do whatever the board
And then
directs.
come back and discuss that.
I mean, realistically, even with taking business stakeholder feedback and all that, and then even if it goes to the first meeting, so we could realistically have it by the end of May, the second meeting of May, drafted. Because if we take feedback now, draft an ordinance to be presented basically, or a rough, or then in the first meeting as a board, we can figure out the framework of the ordinance, and then it can be presented by the second meeting of May for actual approval.
I'm actually kind of surprised that there's nobody here from the
I was
businesses.
just gonna say
I
that.
was, considering that I already
that.
got emails on it by like 8:30 this morning, I
Yeah.
thought for sure,
I'm
maybe
kinda
we have
shocked.
people watching.
Yeah.
Right, like where are they? Like their voices
Yeah.
matter. Agreed.
I just thought of one other thing. I know we're talking about downtown lakefront, but we do have one business that is very good to the business. It's been there for over 40 years by the same owners, and that's Park Avenue Pizza.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
We include that
Well,
little bit of a swing there?
I would feel like you'd almost have to because, you know, you have both Schnitzel Bunker, which is a dine-in restaurant now with with a liquor license, and Park Avenue Pizza that partake in all the other events that are down there. But then you also, that's why I said in the devil's advocacy way, where do you end it? Because I remember when Positively Pewaukee had their sip and stroll, I remember Design Exchange was included in it, and they said, we want to make sure that we had the ability for people to stroll down and see our store and everything, which I agree, they've been there forever, they've been good, you know, members of the community. That, do we extend it now all the way down in Wisconsin? You know, so it's, there is going to be a lot of feeling this out. And as Bob said, you know, just like everything else we've passed, God knows the public doesn't think we've done it perfect the first time, that it gives us some flexibility to maybe adjust and right wrongs going forward. But yeah, it's a tricky one.
Is there any benefit to just having a subcommittee of two trustees to work with staff? In at least putting a shell together about the considerations?
I think it would be. I myself think it would be.
I mean, I do have, because of July 3rd and 4th and what we're doing with 150th, I have a really big interest in making sure we're doing
Well,
something.
I think I would recommend to staff, I mean, to the board, if we're gonna do something like that, I would recommend you and Jim. Ladies, nothing against you, but you're
Yeah,
both.
anybody
both
else
be
who's
working
got-
lakefront.
I mean, I'm happy, you know, Bob and I are already working with some of the downtown businesses for the strategic plan anyways. I'm happy to be a liaison back to the board, knowing that we're not actually creating anything decision, but at least so that we don't have to, all 7 of us go in individually to these businesses to seek feedback.
And if the board members hear anything, they can always relay that message. to
Well,
the
and
me-
staff could send out communication to everyone too, right? Like as like more of
Yes,
a
absolutely.
unbiased, and then
Yeah.
perhaps
Just don't reply all to anything.
the,
Right.
perhaps the subcommittee then can review, and you're not leading the witnesses or anything like that?
So realistically, right now, it's not on the agenda to appoint these two, but I think we're kind of in agreement, and how do we do that? Is there any?
I don't think you need to form a formal subcommittee. I think the will and discussion of the board has been made clear to the two trustees here.
Yeah, okay, that sounds good. Everybody's okay with that. Any other comments as it relates to this particular item? If not, let's move on then. Thank you, everybody, again, appreciate it. Item C is the review, discussion, and possible action of proposed amendments of intergovernmental cooperation agreement between the Village of Pewaukee, City of Pewaukee, and the Town of Delafield regarding the Pewaukee Lake Water Safety Patrol Unit. Jim, you're on that committee. Would you like to just kind of give us the highlights?
Yeah, I don't want to steal Matt's thunder, or either Matt's thunder, but this, you may go, well, we already saw this and already approved it, why is it back again? The town of Delafield wanted a couple changes made after all municipalities passed it. One, I do agree with, they wanted the name correctly stated from Water Safety Patrol Committee to Lake Pewaukee Advisory Committee, which we decided, but then kind of in their own selfish way, and I'll be honest with you, the town of Delafield did not want to host the last meeting. It was a revolving meeting. Town of Delafield did not want to host or take their own minutes. Our staff graciously stepped up and we skipped them and jumped our turn to get back in there. And Jenna graciously came and gave her time to take the minutes. And at that one, we decided to now make the formal meeting place for the Lake Pewaukee Advisory Committee, the village, because we also have the village police as the patrol, and you know, a large part of Pewaukee, Lake Pewaukee is the name Pewaukee, so maybe it should be here, not in the town of Delafield. They wanted that clearly stated in the agreement that it's now the formal location is in the village and that we are responsible for taking minutes and documenting the meetings. So they not only wanted to relinquish their responsibilities, they wanted it in black and white, that they're relinquishing their responsibilities. And thank you to our staff for stepping up in their absence. So yes, that's not throwing them under the bus, that's just stating facts.
Are there any questions or comments?
So all we're doing is approving the changes, sorry.
Yeah, and I'm fine with this. It's amazing to me that the community with the smallest amount of shoreline is going to be accepting the greatest amount of secretarial costs of the three communities.
Correct.
I just wanted to state that.
I guess they're kind of preying on our generosity. I will say that on the record.
And does our staff have bandwidth and willingness to do that? It's once every
It's
3 months or so, right? Or 4?
It's biannual unless a third meeting is needed. So it's only 2 meetings a year, mandatory. 3 and 4 is if budget or something requires.
And honestly, yeah, it doesn't, I mean, yeah, it puts more on us, but honestly, the minutes don't take that long. It's
And I think,
just,
if I'm not mistaken, I think we scheduled it for before one of these meetings, so that you're already gonna
so,
be here.
right.
To
Yeah,
lessen the
so we
burden
were,
on
staff
them.
was already gonna be here, so it's the
Yeah.
same time. It's
Yeah.
not having a totally separate time that we have to be available.
It was my recommendation to just, one, pick a permanent location for ease of residents to know where it's going to be, because we are constantly changing times and location, and people would be coming in at the end and going, I thought it was in the city today, what the heck, you know, I went over there and they said, no, it's in the village. So we picked a permanent location. We decided not to pick Delafield, A, because they didn't want to partake, and B, when you think Pewaukee Lake, you don't necessarily think Delafield. And then we figured between the city and the village, we're right here located in the downtown on the shoreline. More than likely, people would be thinking this would be the host location for a lake meeting, being that the lake patrol is village police also. So that was the rationale behind selecting us.
That's what I was gonna say, was that I read it and I looked at it as that years ago, the Village of Pewaukee Police Department stepped up, got the lake patrol set up the way it is now. The committee got together, and because we have such a great lake patrol, that we should have it.
I agree. We have a phenomenal lake patrol.
Do have a great lake patrol.
So those are the changes that we had to make to the agreement and why it had to come back in front of us to approve.
Is there,
Need an approval?
Yes.
Here. I'll make a motion to approve the new, or the proposed amended terms to the agreement for the Pewaukee Lake Water Safety Patrol Unit.
Second, Pater?
okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion is hereby adopted. Thank you, Jim. Review, discussion, and possible action to confirm committee appointments by the village president. I actually have two committees, but one person is on both. So I would like to appoint Lauren Miller back to the Public Works and Safety Committee and the Sex Offender Residency Appeal Board. Can I have someone make a motion, please?
Make a motion to approve the appointment of Lauren Miller to Public Works and Safety and Sex Offender Residency Appeals Board.
Second, Rhodey.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is hereby carried. Thank you, everybody. Review, discussion, and possible action on all checks and invoices for March 2026. I will look for a motion to approve all checks and invoices on all areas except for the library.
Motion to approve all checks and invoices for March, excluding the library.
Second, Kreiser.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Opposed? And then I will look for a motion to acknowledge checks and invoices for March 2026 for the library.
Motion to acknowledge, say it again?
Checks and invoices.
Checks and invoices for the library.
Second, Kreiser.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion again is hereby carried. Item F, review, discussion, and possible action regarding a land lease agreement with Sioux Line Railroad Company, DBA, Canadian Pacific, Kansas City, for the land adjacent to Kopmeyer. Who wants to handle this matter, Matt?
I'll introduce this one. Thank you, President Knudsen. So the Village of Pewaukee has been pursuing an update of the Kopmeyer lift station since 2022, late 2022, early 2023. And we have been in communication with the railroad since then to get approval, permission for the project to take place on their right-of-way. And we finally now have a proposed land license agreement that would grant us that approval. The version that they sent to the village is in the packet. But it would be appropriate at this point in time to discuss further, to go into closed session and hear some input from the village attorney for the village position.
Yeah, so thank you, Matt. Just to piggyback on that a little bit, Matt introduced the topic well. What the board should look at, and what I would like the board to look at, is the proposal from the railroad is in the packet in open session. There are a couple salient terms, and other terms as well, but the salient terms are the 50-year license term, the proposed license fee of $117,000, a one-time license fee, and then some of the other termination provisions in here. This is a back and forth, for lack of a better term, with the railroad on this. I have the idea, or the, I guess the opinion, that some, if not all of this, is still negotiable. But this is the railroad's proposal. I have some comments there that I would like to share with the board in closed session to discuss our bargaining position and possible response. So I would recommend that the board go into closed session to review my comments and our bargaining strategy.
Okay, after that being said, if there's no opposition, I will read to go into closed session.
We have to do a motion to go into closed.
You gotta read the notice first.
Yeah, the village board of the village of Puyallup entered into closed session pursuant to Wisconsin statute section 1985 1E for deliberating and negotiating the purchasing of public properties, the investing of public funds, or conducting other specified public business, whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session, specifically regarding a land lease agreement with Sioux Line Railroad, DBA Canadian Pacific, Kansas City, for land adjacent to Copmeyer Drive. After conclusion of any closed session, the village board will reconvene open session pursuant to Wisconsin statute 1985-2 for the possible additional review, discussion, and action concerning these agenda items to address the remaining meeting agenda. I'll look for a motion to go into closed session, please.
Motion to go into closed session.
Second, Rhodey.
Roll call vote, please.
Trustee Rhodey.
Yes.
Trustee Belt.
Yes.
Trustee Pater.
Yes.
Trustee Kreiser.
Yes.
Trustee Grabowski.
Yes.
President Knutson.
Yes, we will be moving to closed session. Please, everybody turn. We're gonna open back up afterwards. you like to turn us on? So to speak. Okay. Item 9 is citizen comments. This is an opportunity for citizens to share their opinions with board members on any topic they choose. However, due to Wisconsin open meeting laws, the board is not able to answer questions or respond to your comments. All comments should be directed to the board. Comments are limited to 3 minutes per speaker, with time indicated by an audible alarm. When the alarm sounds, speakers are asked to conclude their comments. Speakers are asked to please use the podium and state their name and address for. Go right ahead, sir.
Hi, I'm Dan Sparacino. I live at 1080 Riverway Court. In October, I will have been in Pewaukee 30 years. I've been here a while. I have, this isn't a big deal, but I'm expecting every one of you to answer this question. Okay. So, like I said, I'm Dan. I don't have any connection to this business or anything, but I walk my dog downtown every couple of days. And I noticed there's the Mediterranean sandwich shop that's been almost in or going in for the last about year. And I'm hungry. I really want a Mediterranean sandwich shop. So I'm just wondering what's going on. Now, you guys, I guess, can't answer questions. So I understand you can. But it'd be great to know what's going on, or maybe we can nudge this along and stuff. Through some discussions, it sounds to me like, if my understanding is that there's waiting for inspection, or the inspection's taking longer or something. Once again, I'm not here to cause trouble or anything. I'm just like, it's dinner time. I'd like to go get a sandwich. Or honestly, it would be a great addition to our community. Again, I don't have any connection to the owner or any of that stuff, or the building owner or any of that. I just think a Mediterranean sandwich shop would be a great addition. And I'm like, can you guys go nudge somebody, or threaten, or something? Joking about that. I'm just wondering if we can nudge this along, and hopefully you can tell us what's going on. And I can get a sandwich maybe tomorrow.
I would recommend asking Matt, our village administrator.
Say again, please.
Ask Matt.
Matt's our village administrator. If you have questions, so the board can't answer because it's not on the agenda, right? But if you have specific questions, Matt will be very
I have a
happy to
specific
answer.
question.
Yes.
Can I have a Mediterranean sandwich tomorrow?
He doesn't take orders. No. After the meeting, but
Thank you for understanding my humor. To throw in there too. I'm just, we're a relatively informal community that figured a deal.
Yes.
But you got my point. Hey, it'd be great. So I'm hoping I can get in there soon.
Okay, thank
Thanks,
you,
you guys.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
That's the only reason I came. And now I have to go eat somewhere else. I hope you're happy, especially you. I'm just joking. Thanks for taking my humor.
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Item 10, adjournment.
Thank you.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. We are hereby adjourned. Thank you, everyone, for all your input and everything.
Does anyone know?
Very, very
Sandwich now?